I want to make it clear that Kate stands on the shoulders of giants in that, Sharon McCone by Marcia Miller, who was the first female detective who could take a punch. Vic Warshawski, as you were saying, not J.P. Beaumont. I forget what her sheriff name in by J.H. Ants. But these women came before me. They came before Kate, and if they hadn't done it first, I don't know that I would have had the guts to do it. But I will tell you that the first Kate Shugak novel was just a writing exercise. I was in between the second and third Kate Shugak, Star Svensdotter novels, and I wanted to rest because the research was onerous in the extreme. And and I don't have any background in the hard sciences either, so it made it even tougher. And I was reading mysteries at the time. I was reading I was probably reading Vic Warshawski and Sharon McCone and all those great guys that were just coming out, and they were in the library in new editions. And so I was reading all those, and I thought, well, I wonder if I could write one of those. And so I sat down, and I was tired. Like I said, I was tired of the research for the science fiction. So I had two rules. Number one, I couldn't do any research. I had to use my own memory and the Alaska Almanac Book of Facts, and that was it. That was all I could use. And I just sat down, and I threw everything at it. Everything that that was probably pretty close to being my only stream of consciousness book. I mean, I just sat down. I didn't want to lose, I didn't want to stop writing. But I did want a break from writing science fiction. And I can't even begin to tell you where all of that came from. My history, Alaska stories of friends and family, pilots, cops I'd met, particularly on the slope. I went to town. I have to tell you that I don't know if you've read it or not. I know.
Years and years back.
Well, there is a misidentified murder victim. We won't go any farther than that. And I was just having the best. I look back now and I think I was just having the best time. That's all I was doing, was having a great time. And then I didn't have a title for it. It was called Mystery. That's how it was identified on my file, my computer file. And I forgot, I just put it away. I thought, okay, that's not bad. And I put it away. I didn't try to sell it to anybody. And then the editor that bought my science fiction said to me, what else have you got? And you don't want to say no when somebody asks you that question. I don't think I have to tell you that. And so I scrambled around inside my files, and there were bits and pieces of this and that and the other. And then there was this really big file called Mystery. And so I pulled it up and I looked and I thought, well, okay, that's not bad. Maybe that'll be good enough. Set it off. And the next thing I knew, I had a multi-book contract. God help me. They came at me with this multi-book contract. I had no idea. I'd never had one before. I'd sold my first 2 manuscripts unagented. Now I had a multi-book contract, and it was followed. And then I got the Edgar Award. And so it was followed immediately by another 3-book contract. And they wanted 2 books a year. And I was in an absolute panic because, first of all, I didn't know I was writing a series when I wrote the first one, because I certainly wouldn't have killed off a character who shall not be named during this podcast at the end of it if I'd known that. And so I was just basically scrambling to meet these deadlines. I mean, a publisher had taken me seriously. They were going to be publishing my books. They were going to spell my name correctly on the cover. They were going to do it 2 times a year, which meant I had to give fodder to their machine. And I essentially was just in a sweat of fear that I was never going to make those deadlines, which were in the contract. I was contractually obliged, first of all, to provide an outline, and I'd never outlined. And secondly, it was just like there was this 5-step process, and they had dates for all of them. And I can't tell you that I had some overarching plan for this character or how she was going to grow or what was going to happen to her. She evolved in the writing. I swear to you the truth. It's mostly ripped from the headlines. That's where a lot of it's stories that people tell me, in particular pilots and cops. You're never going to find a better storyteller than a pilot or a cop if they trust you. So, but essentially, I used to have a joke that I would say, when people would invite me to speak, and I would say, people would always say, yeah, I know you get this question too. Where do you get your ideas? And my response was always, as long as people keep misbehaving on the front page of the Anchorage Daily News, I'm in business. And of course, that doesn't mean that I go chapter and verse by those true life stories, but they often current news provides the seed of a story that I can then plant in the park, which is now large enough with enough and populated with enough characters that I know intimately, where I can develop something along those lines. Not, I would say, faithfully, but that's essentially where all my ideas come from. Not the One's Dead, which is the 23rd Kate Shugak novel, comes out on April 11th. I'm going to try, I haven't done this in a while, just writing books on my own deadline and then selling them once they're done. And I don't know how many of the Eye of Isis novels I'd like to write all 4 and then sell them. All 4 of them, and then have them come out like once every 3 months or something. I don't know if I can talk Aries fiction into doing that, but I'm going to give it my best try. Because I will tell you the reason for that too. I have had many fans tell me, if you're writing a trilogy, I am not reading the first one until you've got the 3rd one published. Then I will read them all together. And that's not just one person telling me that, Jake, that's a lot of people. And I've also heard a lot of fans say they won't read a series until they can read the first in the series. So I don't know if that's still true today, but I would like to be able to satisfy people. Hopefully they have one desire to write these books, read these books, one right after the other, eat them like peanuts.